Let me ask you a question. If you were to describe the greatness of God, what would you compare him to? A canyon? An ocean? What? A planet? He spoke and those things happened. Whenever we see God speaking and something happening that we would say miraculous, we get just a tiny fraction of a taste of that greatness. When Herod was about to bring him out, on that very night, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries before the door were guarding the prison. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood next to him, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him, saying, "Get up quickly." Time out. Time out. Angels, I never spend much time talking about them because I don't want to. I'd rather spend more time talking about the greatness of God. But these angels, they go beyond the boundaries of logic and reason and science. If God so willed it, at any moment an angel could enter in through this door despite having no entryway. He could walk into this room through the walls because he goes beyond the boundaries of logic and science and reason. Keep reading. And the chains fell off his hands. And then in a few verses you'll read that an iron gate opened on its own. Do you know why? It's because God has supreme authority over the metals that come from the earth he made. So at a word from his mouth, he commands oceans and seas, rain and water, and all of the elements that make up the dirt on the ground you're walking on. If he wants to, he says to that metal, "Die, open," and they obey him. The Bible is filled with exclamations. We start every service with a psalm because the psalms are filled with exclamation points of the greatness of God. If you don't know what I mean by greatness by now, I want to offer you a definition so that you know. The greatness of God is God's supremacy over all that exists in the universe. He is supreme over all the matter, including you, and all the cells, and all the diseases, and all the everything. He is supreme. When we sing of his greatness, we're trying our best to adore God because he is an authority. He's in control of not only everything that happens in the world, he's in control of everything that happens in your life. That's that's the starting point for a worshipful heart. This is the testimony of every single one of the 40 different authors of this book. 40 different authors. And all of them claim the same thing about God. When he realized this, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose other name was Mark, where many were gathered together and were praying. And when he knocked at the door of the gateway, a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer. Recognizing Peter's voice, in her joy, she didn't even open the gate. She ran in and reported that Peter was standing at the gate. Can you imagine him standing outside the gate? Rhoda. They said to her, "Of course he's out there. We've been praying and we knew that God was going to do something." Is that what it says? No, it says, "You're out of your mind." In other words, he's probably already dead. They're doubting that God can do anything. God's power is never restricted or restrained by the belief or the lack of belief of his people. God will save you in spite of you. And me too. Your faith, or lack thereof, does not limit God's faithfulness to his own promise. Our level of faith, it fluctuates all the time, doesn't it? His faithfulness to his own promises never fluctuates. He will do exactly as he says he will. Sarah, the wife of Abraham, doubted that God could give them a son in her advanced age, to which God replied, look on the screen, Genesis 18. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Centuries later, the prophet Jeremiah, he wavered in his faith when God told him, Jeremiah, you go out and buy a field in the face of the Chaldeans' invasion. Again, look what God's response was to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, is anything too hard for me? To have faith in God in the face of unanswered prayer or a seemingly impossible situation means we continue to believe that God can and will, whenever he wills it, he will do the impossible. Now listen, it's not a great faith that keeps you saved. It's the object of your faith that keeps you saved. It's not your ability to believe. I just got to believe harder. How do you do that, by the way? Do you make a face? When people say, oh, well, you're just not believing hard enough. Well, how do I believe harder? God will fulfill his promises to you even when your faith is as small as a mustard seed. Because it's not your faith that makes him act. It's not. It's the object of your faith, which is him. It's not a great faith, it's a great God. When it comes to the greatness of his glory, Lennox said it best when he wrote this. Oh, don't miss this, church. Lennox said, man thinks he can become God. But infinitely greater than that is the fact that God thought of becoming human. Our brains are simply not big enough to hold the greatness of God. As a matter of fact, let me ask you a question. If you had to package, put into a container, the greatness of God, could you do it? There is no package that can hold the greatness of God, except one. There's one package that you can actually take the greatness of God and put it inside and it'll hold it. And do you know what it is? This is going to shock you. It's a baby. One particular baby who was born in Nazareth or Bethlehem. And God was so pleased to have all of that greatness fit inside the package of a small human baby. How great is our God? Look at what it says in Colossians. It says, look on the screen. In Jesus, in Christ, all the fullness, that means there's nothing left out. All the fullness of that deity of God was pleased to dwell in human form, in that little baby. You want to take God and study him like you would scientifically? You've got a package. Take Jesus, the God-man, and study him. And you will come away understanding the greatness of God, because that's the package in which he comes. God sent Jesus into the world to save you. And listen to this. He put all that greatness inside of that package of a human baby, sent him to a cross so that he would die for you so that you might be saved because his love for you is so great. But it doesn't stop there. God will stop at nothing to ensure that you stay saved and that you will reach the other end of the shore. Even if he has to break the laws of nature. If it's required that God part seas so that you will reach the other side, God will do whatever it takes to ensure your salvation. Jesus said, I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he'll live forever. And this bread which I will give for the life of the world is my flesh. Church, you were made to know, not only know the greatness of God, you were made to consume the greatness of God. And when you consume it, you eventually become conformed to that same glory. Did you hear me? You can consume God and be conformed to the image of that same glory. That's why Paul wrote this. I'm almost done. No one's getting tired, right? Look what Paul wrote, 2 Corinthians 3. And we all with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, seeing and knowing his beauty and consuming it, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. For this comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. His glory is what you were made to consume. Hey friends, Pastor Luke just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you for watching the video. If you found it to be edifying and encouraging, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. For more videos and sermons like this, or to watch the full-length sermon, you can find it right here on our YouTube channel or by visiting our website, www.hopeoflbi.com.